Hey guys, welcome to the new Flutter tutorial. In this tutorial, we will be running the Dart application and also we will build our own from scratch. So let's get started. The first thing here is to run this app and let's remove these comments. Let's remove all the comments. I got an error that my device storage is full, so I decided to turn off that emulator and start another one, then run the app on the new emulator. So now the app is built and working perfectly fine. So let's clean out the remaining comments. Just like any other languages like C++, C#, Java, there's a main function. That main function is the entry of your app, the first function that will be called whenever your app is built. Inside this main function is where we will now run our app, since the main is just like any other function, but it has the ability to, it's giving a task to run first, to compile first. So now we now have this my app widget. It's a stateless widget. It extends a stateless widget. We also have what we call a stateful widget in Flutter. A stateless widget means a widget that doesn't have to change its state. For example, this app that I'm showing currently, it is the opposite of a stateless widget, which is called a stateful widget because it needs to update its state for us to see the number changing. The states need to be updated for us to see the number changing, while a stateless widget doesn't need to update its state. The next thing we have is the material app. We also have the title, and then we have the theme data. This theme data, look at it as the theme and the style that the app is going to be taking. So let's change the color to orange, deep orange, and see. As you can see, it takes over the color in the entire app. So theme are used to style your app. Can you use to style your app? Let's try another color. Let's change it to green. As you can see, the app is now green, even the button and everything. So we have many ways of styling. We'll be doing the other ones later in the future. So for this material 3, if it is false, our app will look a little bit less attractive, as you can see, because material 3 design is a new design that apps can now adapt to. As you can see, the new design have a more rounded edge button, while the other one have a circle button under. So the next we have here is the home. The home takes in the widget. It takes in another widget that is passed to it and displayed. In Flutter, everything is widget that is stacked on top each other. So we can have this first widget, then another one inside it as a child, then another one inside it as a child, then another one inside it as a children. So basically there are widgets with another widget in it, another widget in it. So now you can see we have this constructor right here, which takes the string title. We did something similar to this initially, where we have a title, where we have a string. So let's change the string to my first app and see. Now as you can see, it has been displayed on the app. For you to run it, just save Ctrl+S or Command+S if you are on Mac to save. Once you save, Flutter have this hot reload function whereby it runs your app automatically. So the next thing we have here is the counter variable. As you should remember, this is an integer variable of 0, and that's what we have here on the app. The next thing is a set state. So just look at this as something that updates your state whenever it changes, because if you don't have that set state there and you click on the counter, it will not show. It will have stored it in the variable, but it will not show. Then again, we can change it to counter equals to counter plus one. That's what that plus plus means. Counter plus plus means counter equals to counter plus one. So we set the state, then it updates on the app. That's basically what it does. The next thing we have here is an app bar. This app bar is a widget that also displays at the top of your app. As you can see, we remove it now. There's nothing there anymore. But an app bar is displayed at the top of your scaffold. So scaffold is like the whole entire screen, where you can have app bar, the body, and other things like the bottom navigation bar, the drawer, and so on. As we progress in this course, we'll be learning all that. So the next thing we have here is the center widget. If you are to remove this widget now and save, that text I will shift to the left, because the center widget move any child into the center, aligns any child to center. So next we have a column. A column basically arrange things in column, and also the opposite of that, we also have a row. It arrange items in row. So now we have this text that is a counter. It takes in the counter variable that we have earlier there, then display it on the screen. The next thing we have here is a floating action button. Basically what it does is that whenever you press it, it calls a function that you set, and also have a tooltip, which is going to be what will be displaying if the user click on it and hold. So when user click on it and hold, that tooltip is displayed. So, but on a normal click, it just displays. Then the child of that floating action button is an icon. I can change it to anything that I want and to be displayed. As you know, in Flutter is a widget being stacked on top each other, meaning one widget with a child, then another child can also have another child, and so on. So that's basically what it is. Now let's delete all this entire code. We will remove everything and create it by ourselves so that we can understand it better. I would suggest that as you are working through this, you should also be creating it on your system as well to practice. So let's create first the main function, which will run app, and the app that will be run is our app, but we can name it anything we want. So let's give it my first app. So that's the first widget that will be executed inside the main function. So once we have that, let's add the material app, then a title to it. The next thing we need to do is to set our theme data. We will set our theme data and add the color. So the color scheme is what is going to be used. If you use color scheme dot from seed, we can use any kind of style that we'll be learning later in the future. But it's from seed. It takes that color and uses for all the widgets in your entire app that requires color, if you didn't override it with another color by yourself. Let's have the home widget, which will be what will be displayed. So type STF, then enter to create a stateful widget. But for the one that is stateless, you will type STL, then enter. It will autocomplete and create a widget for you. But for this one, we're using a stateful widget. Let's name it counter app. So let's pass in that counter app to our home widgets. Then now, next thing we need to do is to change this from a placeholder, and let's try with a column first. As a column, it will have children instead of child, because it arranged all the child in column. If you also have a row, it will have children instead of child. But other widgets that doesn't require like a list of child, we have a single child. So let's wrap this column in a scaffold and give it a body. So next thing we need to do is to add an app bar. So let's give our app bar a title, but it won't take this because everything in Flutter is a widget. So we can't just pass in a string to the title, we need to remove the string and put it into another widget called a text widget. So basically, write text and then put the value in it. That's basically how you need to do. The next thing we need to do now, let's add our child. Let's add a child to the column. Let's add a child to the column. But before that, I don't like this color of the app bar. Let's change it to a new color, a different color. So we have a lighter blue now. So the next thing we need to do is to add a text widget. You know, in a column, you can have multiple widgets arranged one after the other. They are children for the column. Let us give it a text value and then save it. You can see it's displayed right at the top, but we don't want it there. We don't want it there. So let's give it a center. So we align it to center. Then we are changing the main axis alignment to center also to bring it down to the middle. Main axis alignment is the alignment where your widget children falls, while the cross axis alignment is the alignment opposite that. So if your column is going top down, your main axis will be top down. So we have a int counter. We are passing the counter into the text and giving it a style. So let's give it a font size 20 to make it bigger, and also let's give it a font weight. Bold is a little bit too dark, so I'm giving it a lighter bold of weight 400. As you can see, we have our text here already, and we have our body. Everything is set, but we need to add that button to make it count. So let's close the body. Inside the scaffold, we now add a floating action button. So a floating action button takes an argument unpressed that we call a function once it is pressed, and also an icon that will be displayed. So let's call our icon add. So the next thing we're going to do now is to create a function. This function is going to be the one to increment our counter. So it increases the counter by 1 each time the floating action button is pressed. But as you know, if you just put it there as counter plus plus, it will not work because our state will not be updated. So we need to now wrap it into a set state, then increment it. So now let's pass in our increase counter function into the unpressed. Now, as you can see, it worked. You click it multiple times and it's working fine. So as you can see, everything is working fine perfectly, just like the initial template given to us by Flutter. But now I want us to add another thing. So let's add a column for the floating action button, then make it 2. We want to add another one to decrement the counter. So now it's aligned up. Let's align it down to where it's supposed to be. I added a size box to give a space between the two. This size box can be used to give space between two widgets. Then I set the main axis alignment to end so I to bring the button down. As you can see, now it's arranged the way we want. Let's change the icon of the second one from add to -1. Once the button is clicked, it reduces the counter by 1. Then let's change the one at the top to +1. Once it is clicked, it increases the button by 1. But currently now we don't have the function yet to decrease the counter. So let's create another function. Let's call it decrease counter. Then we do counter minus. So let's now pass this function to our new floating action button and test it. As you can see, it is reducing the counter, but there's one problem. Once it gets to 0 and you click it, it goes to negative and keep on going to negative. But we want only 0 and above. So let's now create a conditional statement that if counter is greater than 0, that's the only time where this function should be executed. As you remember, we did a conditional statement in our that lesson. So it comes in handy here, and as you can see, it works just fine. It works just fine. It won't reduce more than 0, but can increase to any number. You can also you can also do many other things. You can also change the function and do whatever you want with it. Maybe like multiplication and division, or subtraction, anything you want. So that's it for today, guys. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I hope you enjoyed it. I will see you in the next video.